Hi everybody, and welcome to this tutorial on how to use Photoshop to create your infographic. This is a repeat of the process that was showed to you in the workshop. So we shall begin. If you have opened up the Photoshop program on your laptop, on your screen, you should come across a pop-up window that looks like so. I've hit Create New, and that has given me this window. Now, you may not have these particular choices in front of you because these are my recent choices, but you will have these ones over at the top here, such as photo, print, art and illustration, web, mobile, film and video. Just like in the workshop, we're going to go to print, and what we're going to use today is an A4. So if you were to print this, it would be the size of an A4 piece of paper. So I'm just going to click on that once to select it. Then I'm going to look at my options in this menu on the side. You'll see that the resolution says 300. So just to clarify what that means, if you were to print this out, you would get a clear print at 300. If you're only going to use your infographic digitally, if you're only going to see it on a screen, that only ever needs to be 72. But I like to play safe with this, because if I make my resolution 300, I can always shrink that image down to 72, whereas if I try to blow up an image at 72 to 300, it might get fuzzy and be of low resolution. So I'm going to start it at 300, so that all looks good. My orientation is how I want it, so I'm going to click Create. Okay, here we go. What I see in front of me is my digital piece of white paper. I have my tools in the side on the left here, and on the right I have another side menu with some labels at the top. Now yours might look slightly different to this. It might look something like this. What I like to do, if this is the case, I like to keep this area as clean as possible, so I will grab hold of that tab there, Layers tab, and I'll drag it up to where all the other ones are until I get that blue framing around, that blue line. I can drop it in there now. So all my tabs are up there. Now, of all the tabs they've given me in my default, the only ones I'm really going to need are the Layers tab and the History tab. If you don't have either of those ones, you can go to this Window tab in the menu at the top, click on it, and that will give you a list of the all the tabs you can have. You just need to click on either History or Layers, and that will come up. It may come up, let's have a look, in a window like so, off to the side. Well, that's histogram, that's a different one. I'm going to put that away. You might get your history one come up, and it might pop up like that as a window all on its own. What you can do is grab that again, just drag it into those tabs there until you get the blue line all the way around the box, let go, and then you've got everything you need over here, and it's clean. You've got lots of space. So with these layers that we're going to create, we can see them all at any one time. So layers is something that Photoshop is really all about. It means that if you are producing a piece of work, you will be producing it in layers, one layer at a time. So that would be one image overlaid by another image. Excuse me. One image overlaid by another image, overlaid by another image to create your full image itself. We start off with a background layer like this that's locked in place. We don't need that to be locked. I'm going to click on that little padlock there and it disappears. And my layer is now called layer 0. Was called background layer until I unlocked it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is create a new layer to sit on top of our bottom layer. I'm going to come down to these little icons here, and this one here, this little square with the corner overturned, if I hold it long enough it will say create a new layer. That's what I want to do, so I'm going to click, and a new layer is produced above my layer 0. There's layer 1, and it's completely see-through. That's what this little checkered pattern means. So we can't actually see it yet, not until we put something on it. So I'm just going to connect myself to the internet, because the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a photograph to that layer. Okay, so I've opened up Google now, and I'm just going to go to unsplash.com to find a nice photo to stick into my infographic. Let's see now. Great. I think for this one I'm just going to type in beach. Let's see what comes up. Some lovely photos. I think I'm going to go with this one. I like the looks of this picture. There we go. There's some nice colours in there, a nice image, lots of open space there so the image isn't too noisy or busy. I'm going to hit the free download button there, and that should just download this image into my download folder. Also says here to say thanks. You can obviously credit the photographer if you wish somewhere on your work. That's downloaded, so now I'm going to go back to my Photoshop file, and I've made sure that I've selected this layer 1. If I click on this, this will select the 0 layer. Don't want to do that, but just so you know, you can select the layer that you want to work on just by clicking on it over in this box here. Now, with layer 1 selected, I want to go to File. I'm going to go to Place Linked. And there it is in there. Now, you can see my cursor changes wherever I move it to now. It becomes a big black arrow in the middle, and it becomes an arrow with two ends, two arrowed heads, where I go around the image itself. And you also see this big cross in the middle and these little boxes up in the top here. If I were to move my cursor over to one of these boxes and hold down my finger on the mouse pad and drag, that's going to stretch my image if I use these two. Same with these two at the top. If I go to a corner, that is also going to stretch the image. However, it's going to stretch it to scale. So if I click on that corner and then I just start dragging outwards, you'll see it moved it. Now, what I want to do is just move it in either corner, like so. There we go, until it snaps into place and it fills the whole of my digital paper. That's what I wanted. Now that's ready, I'm going to hit the enter button, and then all those lines go, and I've told Photoshop that's where I want my picture. I've hit enter, and so it's done it for me. So there is my photograph in my Photoshop document. Now you'll see also that the layer's name has changed. It's changed the actual name of the file, but I like to keep this nice and clean and in order so I can remember things. So if I double click on it, it comes up in blue like that. I'm going to change the name of that now to background image. There we are, and I've hit enter. That's great, I've got that on there now. Okay, next up we want to create an icon to stick in this image. So I'm going to go to Icons DB. Let's use the button, there we go. So you can put in your hex code. So here I am on Icons DB, and what I'm going to do is create, I want a white icon, so I'm going to hit the white button there. There we go, it's giving me some. And I'm going to search for a house. There we are. I'm going to use this one here, I think, nice and simple. So I'm going to click on that, and you may or may not be able to see the house there because it's white on a very light grey background. But if I scan down to this section, you'll see all the kind of ways in which I can download this image. Now the one I want is the PNG download. Why? Because it gives me a transparent background. Now, interestingly, these other features also say they'll give you a transparent background, but universally, PNG is the one that most people use, and therefore it's the safest one for us to use too. I'm going to go for the biggest size it can be, which is 512 by 512, so I'm going to select that, click on that. That's downloaded that to my download folder as well. So I'm going to go back to Photoshop. I'm going to do the same process I did to bring in my photograph. I'm going to go to Place Linked Image, click on the house and hit place, and it's going to do the same thing as it did before, create a house with this box around it. Now, I didn't need to do this with my photograph, but I'm going to do it with this one. I'm going to move my cursor into the middle, so I get that black arrow. I'm going to hold my finger down on the mouse pad, and I'm going to drag, which will drag my entire icon over to the side like this. Excellent. Next thing I want to do is I want to make it smaller. So I'm going to bring my cursor to the corner like so. I'm going to hold the shift key on my keypad, and then I'm going to click and drag, and that will keep, what that does is it keeps the scale proportionate when I make it smaller. Otherwise I'll end up making either a very skinny house or a very flat house. So let's move it down, and then when I let go, that's how I'd like it. I'm going to hit enter, and there's my house. Now if I wanted to go back and move this house again, what I would do is I would go to edit, I would go to free transform and that will reselect it, provided that I've already got this layer selected, and I can just move it. I'll move it in a little bit and just settle it about there. There we go. Hit enter, and that's where the house now is. Let's change the name of this layer to house icon as well. There we go. That's looking great. Alright, now, although I'm liking what I'm seeing, I think my white house icon is a little bit lost in this picture so far because the background is so light too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to control the contrast of that background layer. Now there's a few ways of doing this, but the way I'm going to show you should help you understand how you can move layers about and how you can control layers with a little bit more detail. So what I'm going to do is create another new layer. So go back down to this icon in the bottom here, click it, there we go, there's my new layer. That's now layer 1 because these have all been labelled. And what I'm going to do with this layer is, first of all, I'm going to turn it black. Okay, so I'm going to go up to Edit, go to Fill, go into this drop-down menu here, and although I've already got colour selected, I'm going to reselect. Oh no, not background colour. I'm going to reselect colour. There we go, which brings me up this colour picker dialog box, and I want black. So, I mean, my colour picker could be anywhere on this, and that's what's really powerful and great about Photoshop. I can make my layer any colour I'd like. However, for the sake of creating decent contrast, I want it to be black. So I could drag that into the corner there. That will make it black, and you'll see here the hex value of black is 6 zeros. Another way I could have done that is to go into that dialog box, that little hex box, and hit it in 6 zeros. It does the same thing. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to hit OK one more time, and then everything on my image will disappear. It's all going to turn black. Now that's fine. Next thing I'm going to do is just rename this layer. So I'm going to double click here, and I shall call this layer, let's see, contrast. There we are. Now, I only want to control the contrast of my background image. I don't want to control the contrast of my house icon. So what I need to do is move my contrast layer so that it's underneath my house icon and above my background image layer. So if I hold down on the mouse pad on that layer there and I can drag, you'll see the little hand movement. I want to drag it till I see that line in between the house icon and the background image highlighted. You see that? And if I let go, the contrast is now between, and I know this because the house icon is now sitting on top. Right, make sure you select the contrast layer, because what we're going to do now is change the opacity of that layer. The opacity is situated up here in this box. There it is, opacity at 100%. If I click on the arrow next to that, I get a slider. If I use this slider, I can gradually reduce the opacity. There we go. My Photoshop is catching up with me. So that's 0. That's about 50% right there to 100%. And you can make that whatever you like. I'm going to make mine about, let's see, 40. I think 40% is great. I can also input that percentage there. So I could say 60. That's a bit dark, so I think I'm going to go back in there and go 40. Wonderful. There we go. So now I have my icon sitting on top, a contrast layer next, and then below that the background image. So it's darkened my background image enough that the house icon looks more striking and bold. That's what I wanted to do. Alright, now let's look at writing, actually before we do some text, let's say you want to use a house icon more than once. Well, we don't have to go around the process of placing it back in again and resizing it to make sure it's the same size as this one. There's a much simpler route than that. We can replicate this icon, we can copy it. There's a few good ways of doing this. I'm going to show you one of those, which is to right click on your mouse pad, and you'll see the option to duplicate layer. So I'm going to click duplicate. It'll ask me what I want to call this. So I'm going to call this one house icon 2. Hit OK. There it is. Now, it is on the board. The only problem is it's directly above this house icon, which means we can't see it. So what we'll have to do is making sure house icon 2 is selected. Again, go to Edit, go to Free Transform, move our cursor inside until it's black, and then hold that down and drag. There it is. And Photoshop has these smart guides, these little pink lines that give us an idea that we're keeping it accurate and straight. Then I'm going to hit enter. There's my second icon, and you know what, I think I'm going to make one more. So again, right clicking on that house icon 2 layer, go to duplicate layer, let's call it number 3, hit OK, go to edit, free transform, and then move this, drag it down, there we go, 3, that's wonderful, and hit enter. There are my 3 house icons. Okay, now we want to put some text into this image too. So we're going to go over to these controls over here, these tools, and find the one that says T. There it is, that's the text icon. I'm going to click on that, and when that loads for me, there it is, I get a different type of cursor. I get one you might find in Word, as it were. I'm going to bring that onto the screen, and I'm going to click and drag to create a rectangle. So I'm holding down now, clicking and dragging. There it is. I'm still dragging, and when I let go, I will have a dialog box, or a text box, I should say. And also, it's created a new layer unto itself there. So the first thing I'm going to do is just write something in here, such as, let's write seaside. There we go, that's come in there. Now, it's not the font I want it in, it's not the colour, it certainly isn't the size I want either. So there's a few things I need to do. So you'll see that this cursor changes again. When I go in here, it gives me that little cursor that you'd find in Word. I'm going to highlight this word by clicking and dragging across it, like you would in a Word document to change something. And then I'm going to look at these options up here, which these options up here always change depending on what tool you're using. So since I've clicked on the text tool, it's giving me these options here. So the first thing I've got is the font itself. It's currently in comic book, don't want that, so I'm going to click on this drop down, have a look at some other fonts I can use. I think I'm going to use, let's have a look, something simple and clean. If you can't find the thing you're looking for, you can always write it in. I'm going to go with Futura. There we go. So that's changed it. Medium is fine. Text size. So I can change the text size here to whatever I'd like. I'm going to just go with 60 for now. Okay, that's fine. I can show you how to make that the size you actually want it, as opposed to one of these sizes that's there by default in a second. I can also change the arrangement, so or the alignment I should say, so it's on the left now. I could put it in the center or to the right. Let's keep it on the right, that's nice. And also the color, which is this box here. I'm going to double click on that, opens the color picker. I want white. There we go, 6Fs, make sure that's absolute white, hit OK, and it's done. Now I want to come away from all this, I want to make sure it's okay. Unlike when I would move something with the free transform tool and then hit enter, I won't hit enter now because if I did, this would all just disappear. I'm just going to go over and click on another layer, like so. It didn't actually choose that layer, but it did click away from what I was doing, so now my text is there on the screen. I can't do anything with it. Be warned, if you've got this text tool still open, as you can see my cursor showing me, and I go back over here and I click on something, it just created another text layer for me. I didn't want to do that. I'm going to get rid of that text layer by just clicking it and dragging it down to this trash box here. There we go. Let's try that again. There it is. Drag down and it's gone. Alright, I can also go back in and change this text by clicking on the T in my layer. So if I double click on that, there we go, that opens up again, and then I can change whatever I like, but I don't want to, so let's click away. Now, I do want to change the size of this to something that I'm happy with. So what I will do is, with this selected, having not double clicked here, just making sure the layer is selected, I can now go into edit and free transform. That brings up that box I drew earlier. Now this is a little untidy. What I'd like to do is just make this box the size of the wording itself. So what I'll do is I'll hit enter. So I don't free transform just yet. I am going to double click inside there, and I've got this text box come back up. What I'm going to do is take my cursor over and just pull this text box in so it's actually the size of my word. That's better. Alright, now I'll click away from it. Now making sure it's selected, I'll go back in, go to edit, free transform, that's better. Now I'm going to go to a corner like so, hold down Shift and drag that corner out, which will allow me to control the actual size I want this to be. Let's say I want it to be the size of the top there. Perfect. Now I'll let go and I'm going to hit Enter, and that saves my wording exactly where I want it. Wonderful. Okay, now seems like a really good time to save my work. So what I'm going to do is go up to File, go to Save As, and this box opens up, a save box. Now, something really important to know is the format in which you're saving in. I want to save my Photoshop document as a Photoshop document, a PSD. The reason being, it's a master copy. It means I can go back in any time and change any of those layers however I want. If I save it as another format, it might flatten my image, and by flattening it, I won't be able to move around all the pieces. So let's just call this Seaside Master PSD. So I know it's the master copy, and I can hit Save. This box comes up, we just hit OK on that. There we go. It's saved. Now if I wanted to make a version for print, I would go File, I would go Save As, and I would export it as something else. I would export it as either a JPEG, as a Photoshop PDF, so you can export as a PDF, or as a PNG. Now, if you do save as a PDF, the image may be, let's just cancel that, too large at 300 to send, because that will be a really big image. So what we can do is we can go to Image Size here, image bar at the top, go to Image Size, and in here we can change the resolution to 72. I'm going to click OK. Now that shrinks down our document, which would make it very difficult to work on if we work on it from this perspective. So what we need to now use is the zoom tool. Now the zoom tool exists over here, but I find it a bit cumbersome to keep clicking on the zoom tool in and out whilst I'm using other tools. So I'm going to use the short key version of the zoom tool, which is to hold down Control and then use the plus and minus keys on your keyboard to zoom in and out. There we go, I'm hitting the plus one now. I can make it the right size, and the minus one zooms out. Like that, you've got complete control. The other thing you can do is if you're zooming into a really small space like this, well, I want to work on this house, but it's out of my image. If I hold down the space bar, I get this hand, and if I click and drag, I can move my image around to get to the point I want to on the screen and work on something. So, Control, minus, that will zoom out for me. Wonderful. And that's how we put together a simple infographic. Now, there's a few other things I can show you as well, such as cutting out a image. Let's go to Lightbulb, Images. I'm looking for something with a decent contrast. This has got a decent contrast, yellow and white there, so I'm going to use this. Let's go into here, let's save this. So I'm going to right click on my mouse pad, save image as, oh, let's just rename that light bulb, not to get confused. Hit save. Wonderful. Go back into my document. This time I'm not going to place this document in, I'm actually going to open it as a new folder, as a new document I should say. So I'll hit light bulb like so, hit open. There it is, there's my light bulb, and my other work is in this tab next to it. Click on that, there it is, you see. So with this light bulb now open, first thing is I'm going to unlock the layer, because that's just a default mode of Photoshop, that the first layer should be locked. So I'm going to click on that to unlock it. Wonderful. And what I want to do is I want to remove all this white space around it. So I'm going to go up to my tools here, and the fourth one down is the magic wand tool. Now yours might not say this. If you hold down on your keypad over one of these tools, you'll see there are sub-tools. So yours might currently say quick selection tool, might look like this, but you want the magic wand tool. So hold down with your mouse pad till these options come up, select the magic wand tool, there we go, and then bring that into your image. Now what the magic wand tool will do is it will select all the pixels that are the same colour for you. So if we click anywhere on the white, like so, we'll see this march of walking ants all around the lines of our work, but it's all around the white section, which is perfect. Now if I go to image, if I go to edit and go to cut and select, the magic wand was taken away all of my white background, so I now just have a transparent light bulb, or a light bulb I should say, on a transparent background. Now let's move this into our seaside picture. So what I need to do is go to the move tool, which is this top one here with the arrows going in all directions. Select that, bring my cursor into my image so it's in the middle, hold down on the mouse pad and drag this image up to this tab. Now keep your finger on the mouse pad, do not let go yet. Keep dragging it, drag it down into your image, let go, and there's that light bulb. Completely cut out. Now it's too big at the minute, so let's move it down to size. Let's use that free transform hold the shift key, drag from a corner. There we are. I can move that around. That's about where I want it. I'm going to hit the enter key. That keeps it where it is. Let's rename that light bulb. Wonderful. And let's save that work. And there you have it. Some of the most useful tools and ways to work out Photoshop if you're just beginning. Remember, there are absolutely hundreds and thousands of Photoshop tutorials on YouTube that will help you with all sorts of things, but this will really get you started in creating something that looks neat and professional when it comes to a basic insight visualization.